Much needed rain in KwaZulu-Natal wreaks havoc. Unemployment worsens as consumers face high food and petrol prices. A very happy Monday to you. You're watching eNEWS Direct. I'm Duduzile Ramela.
And I'm Sandy Ngangose. Good evening.
To comment on any of our stories, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNEWS Direct.
And you can also track our main stories using the following hashtags: KZN floods and SA unemployment.
We start with this. 4 people have died as a result of flooding in Durban. Over 300 people have been left destitute and are currently being housed at community halls around the city. 2 people remain missing. They were last seen trying to cross a river in Chatsworth during a raging storm.
Heavy rains have battered KwaZulu-Natal for the past few days. Durban is among the hardest hit cities. Over 325 people in Umlazi, Isipingo and Chatsworth have been evacuated. 57-year-old Mavis Mahlangu from Umlazi's L section was among them. The 3-room house, which she shares with 9 family members, was washed away.
Every time they build houses, we always hope we will get one, but we ended up getting nothing. They only remember us when it's election time.
Her neighbor Togo Mlangeni is traumatized but thankful to be alive.
We have lost everything and all our belongings were washed away. We don't know where to go from here. Government officials always come here and give us empty promises.
4 people have been confirmed dead, 3 adults from Chatsworth and a child from Umlazi. eThekwini disaster management teams are working in the area. Displaced people are being temporarily housed in community halls. Officials are still assessing the extent of the damage.
There are 2 people that are still missing. So because of that, we can't really give you exact figures.
The municipality says it will release a full report on the disaster on Wednesday.
A Gauteng High Court judge is under fire for suggesting that rape is part of the culture of black men. Judge Mabel Jansen made the comments in a private conversation with a social justice activist on Facebook. It was made public, sparking widespread criticism and a campaign calling for her resignation. Jansen says her comments have been taken out of context.
A year ago, Judge Mabel Jansen got involved in a heated exchange on activist Gillian Skitter's Facebook wall. During that debate, Jansen argued that rape was an inherent part of black culture.
She's really demonized, animalized, victimized black people. And she's in a position where she actually presides over cases of gender-based violence, violence against women. And she sees herself as somebody who speaks on behalf of women.
Skitter republished the judge's comments following the backlash against student Nontokozo Kwabe, whose Facebook post about not tipping a white waitress until whites gave the land back prompted some groups to demand that Oxford University revoke his scholarship. Now Judge Jansen is facing calls for her removal from office.
Those are not beliefs that a judge who is supposed to be fit and proper for the bench are meant to embody and to hold.
Judge Jansen has said that she's unable to fully deal with the accusations against her because her husband died over the weekend. But she has reportedly also stated that instead of branding her as a racist, South Africans needed to face up to the country's rape epidemic and find ways of solving it. The ANC says Jansen's comments show the need to evaluate whether the judiciary truly is transformed.
For someone in that position to make such statements, really, it rubbishes the notion that judges are beyond reproach.
While the Judicial Service Commission mulls over what action to take in this ugly saga, there is also a very real possibility that those black men convicted and sentenced by Jansen may very well use her Facebook comments as grounds for appeal. Karen Morn, Johannesburg.
Constitutional Court judges have been interrogating the Independent Electoral Commission over voter addresses. They want to know why the IEC failed to keep a proper record of addresses after it was made compulsory to do so in 2003. The IEC is challenging a ruling by the Electoral Court last year which ordered that the addresses of voters in Tlokwe be verified. This forced the postponement of by-elections in that municipality. The judgment has massive implications and could affect the eligibility of 12 million voters. The IEC says it's impossible to verify the addresses of all registered voters before the August polls. It's also argued that it's not mandated to check that voters provide the correct addresses upon registration.
We accept that the IEC may only register voters in the voting districts in which they are ordinarily resident. And for that purpose, the IEC must obtain from the voter seeking registration the voter's address, if she has one, or the voters, enough particulars of the voter's ordinary place of residence to determine in which voting district it falls. The IEC is not required to verify that information, but it is the IEC's duty, once having obtained that information, to ensure that the voter is registered in the voting district in which her ordinary place of residence falls.
17 people have appeared in court in the Vuwani area of Limpopo. They were arrested last week during violent protests which left more than 20 schools damaged, most of them completely gutted. 11 people appeared in the Malamulele Magistrates Court this morning. They've been remanded in custody and will apply for bail next Monday. The remaining 6 appeared in the Thohoyandou Magistrates Court this afternoon. Now, they'll appear next Tuesday for a bail hearing. The suspects are facing charges of arson, public violence and malicious damage to property. 4 minors have been handed over to a probation officer for assessment. And while violent protests have left some Limpopo pupils stranded, one Gauteng community is celebrating. A dysfunctional school in Soweto has been turned into a specialized high school. The aim is to push Gauteng pupils to do technical and vocational work. It's said the Curtis Nkondo School of Specialization marks a turning point in basic education in South Africa.
This is a Boeing 747 engine. Pupils at Curtis Nkondo School of Specialization will learn how to assemble it, how it functions, and how it helps keep a plane in the sky.
I'd like to be an astrophysicist.
Okay. Yes. Why?
Because I was intrigued by the 3 courses we went through the construction of the rocket.
The focus here is on engineering, maths, science, commerce, sports, and the arts.
By the time they leave here, they're not going to add to the queue of people that want RDP houses.
The DG has recently visited Germany and he was telling me that they're already at 60-40. 60 technical, 40 academic, and that's where the world is going. Where as a country, we're at 80-20, where it's 80 academic and 20 technical and vocational. And what we are working on through these schools is to turn the pyramid around.
Another round of applause, please.
It's a change education experts are welcoming.
What's exciting about this particular school is that they've tried to sell it in not as a solution for those who are struggling, which is often what happens with vocational education.
The school is one of 27 planned for Gauteng. Currently, about 380 pupils are doing grade 8 and 9 here. When they reach grade 10, that's when they will specialize in their chosen fields. Malungelo Bui, Soweto.
A quick look at world news now, and rainfall is giving hope to firefighters battling a monster blaze in Canada. Mass evacuations are still underway while entire communities are in danger. The wildfire grew in size over the weekend, but it hasn't spread to a neighboring province as feared it would. The blaze has become the country's costliest ever natural disaster. There have been dramatic rescues in China where rainstorms have flooded many low-lying areas. Hundreds of people have been trapped by raging floodwaters and many more have had to flee their homes. Landslides have killed at least 22 people, with 17 still missing. And a small startup American company is set to start using drones to deliver blood in Rwanda. Transfusion centers in the African country use around 65,000 units a year. Most goes to mothers who've hemorrhaged while giving birth and to children with malaria-induced anemia. The drone company hopes its success will help make flying deliveries a reality in the US.
It's time now to check in with Duduzi, who has all of his social media.
Indeed, I do. Thank you so much, Sandile. We start with this. Students at the University of Stellenbosch have erected a shack on campus, protesting against what they say is the unfair dismissal of 150 workers. Protesters have vowed to continue their action until the workers are reinstated. It's reported that police and campus security took down the shack. And we end off with this. Students at the University of Cape Town are joining campus protests against sexual violence. They are supporting the recent nude protests at Rhodes University, where students clashed with police. The UCT protesters say they also feel let down by the apparent failure of universities to act against sexual abuse. They want management to hear the personal testimonies of students. They're hoping the protest will create an awareness of campus rapes and support for the survivors. Remember, we do love to hear from you. You can, of course, check us out on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNEWS Direct, or you can head on over to our website. That's emca.com/direct. After the break, your business news as well as your weather. Money matters now, and unemployment figures are on the rise. They've jumped from 24.5% last year to 26.7% in the first quarter of 2016. Now that means about 521,000 people are now unemployed.
The unemployment picture has taken a turn for the worse. First quarter data from Stats SA shows South Africa lost 355,000 jobs on aggregate, plunging the jobless rate to 26.7% from 24.5% last year.
What is important about this peak of 26.7% is that it is the highest since 2008. That's the highest we've reached in terms of unemployment since 2008.
The number of employed South Africans slipped to 15.6 million in the quarter. Growth in Africa's most advanced economy will likely edge close to 0% this year, and that could further affect the jobless number.
If you look at the NDP, unemployment by 2030 must be 6%, absorption rate must be 61%, and labor participation rate should be about 65%. Where we are at the moment is absorption rate at 43% and labor force participation rate averaging 53%. So, and the trend is one of an increasing unemployment. The question is, are we heading the right direction? The numbers point to a wrong direction.
Community-driven initiatives and social services were the only sectors with a good story to tell. Manufacturing lost 100,000 jobs, and that's compared to between October and December last year. Agriculture's employment data went lower by 15,000 compared to a year ago, with the drought piling on more pressure. Arabile Kumete, Johannesburg.
And with that, let's see how the markets performed today. Let's check in with the Weather Center now. Here's Joel Guy.
Good Good evening and welcome to the Weather Center. We still have cut-off low controlling the weather across South Africa, and on Tuesday the cut-off low brings us isolated to scattered thunderstorms extending from the northwest down into the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. It's going to be pretty chilly over the central interior. The eastern parts of the country as well as the south coast will get away with partly cloudy skies. It's going to be mostly sunny for much of the northern Cape. Now here's a look at our rainfall accumulation map for Tuesday, where we are expecting up to 25 millimeters of rain over much of central South Africa. KwaZulu-Natal is going to be lightly dry on Tuesday with a few sprinkles possible around Ladysmith and Kokstad. It's going to be warm in most areas, Durban peaking at around 27 degrees. Isolated to scattered thunderstorms are forecast across much of the Eastern Cape with cool to mild afternoon temperatures in most areas, warmer along the coastal areas, Port Alfred and Port Elizabeth peaking at 24 degrees. Mostly sunny skies are forecast for the bulk of the Western Cape. It's going to be partly cloudy along the west coast, Cape Town and Hermanus peaking at just 19 degrees. We're expecting isolated thundershowers for the easternmost areas of the Northern Cape. It's going to be cool to mild for most areas, Kimberley peaking at 22 degrees. It gets cooler and wetter as we go towards the Free State, Bloemfontein peaking at just 16. We are expecting thundershowers for the southern areas of the northwest. Temperatures across the province will lie mostly in the lower 20s. Limpopo is going to be dry with mild to warm afternoon temperatures, Polokwane peaking at around 22. It's going to be partly cloudy across Mpumalanga with temperatures in the upper teens and lower 20s for most areas. Similar weather is forecast for Gauteng, mostly sunny for Pretoria, peaking at around 22. We are going to see mostly sunny skies on Wednesday for much of South Africa, a few sprinkles around Richards Bay. Then on Thursday, thundershowers are forecast for the western areas of the Northern Cape. Otherwise, it's going to be dry for the rest of the country.
Thank you, Joel. Here's what's coming up after the break.
I'm your weekend special.
12 years on, and fans of Brenda Fassie remember the hits that still get them dancing. On this day, 12 years ago, South Africa lost a formidable music icon.
We did indeed. Brenda Fassie died in her sleep at Sunninghill Hospital following a reported drug overdose.
We hit the streets of Johannesburg to find out which of her hits had us all dancing.
Named Brenda Nokuzola Fassie after US singer Brenda Lee. But to many of us, she was simply Umapr.
I look fabulous every time. This is nothing. This is for my fans. I'm your weekend special.
It's been 12 years since Mabrie's passing, and her music certainly lives on in our homes, in our living rooms, and of course in popular social hotspot areas. So what is it about Brenda Fassie's that still lingers in people's minds? Is it No 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 Senor? Is it Weekend Special? Is it Mabutu Dangerous? What is it?
My friend is dangerous.
I say Brenda Fassie, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Music.
Weekend Special.
Diva, very flamboyant, outspoken, out there, just drama.
As far as sexuality, I think she broke all the rules when it came to that.
We looked at her as this hero. Everyone wanted to be Brenda,
Now, Mabrie's music certainly still lives on, even up to date. Do you know why I know? Well, it's simple, because
you don't come around. Friday night, yes I know must be ready for you, must be ready for you.
Nontobeko Sibisi, Johannesburg.
What a legend. Here's a reminder of the day's top stories before we say goodbye. Much needed rain in KwaZulu-Natal wreaks havoc. Unemployment worsens as consumers face high food and petrol prices. It's a wrap from the eNEWS Direct team.
It is indeed. Rhythm City's up next. We're back tomorrow.
Remember, we do love to hear from you. You can send us an email to enewsdirect@etv.co.za.
Well, of course, you can just talk to us on Twitter and Facebook, and our handle is @eNewsDirect.
Until tomorrow night, have a fantastic evening. Bye-bye.